Full-time, full-time. You're listening to Full-Time Daughter. It's a full-time job at this point.
Another day, another sleigh.
Period. Welcome back to another episode of Full-Time Daughter with
Isa,
and Cailyn.
another week.
Another episode.
Welcome back, guys. We're glad that you're here.
Yeah.
And if you guys are just tuning in and you haven't listened to last week's episode, we kind of discussed going viral, which has just been crazy. Like, again, I just want to say thank you so much for all our new listeners, our new followers. We just hit 2K like subscribers. Crazy.
And
like
last episode, we had just said that we reached 100.
Yeah.
And as I was editing that episode, we were like, oh my God, that was only a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just pointing out that we reached 100 and now we're at
It's insane.
2,000.
It's actual, like, it's so crazy to me.
It's
And I'm
insanity.
like, oh my, we can't believe it. We're so grateful. But we're kind of like going through everything and like,
right. Not to like harp on.
not to harp
this
on, but it's
one
just been a
moment.
really crazy experience. And we went viral on all socials and it's just been insane.
Yeah.
But something that we wanted to bring up, because we've been like checking your comments, we've been seeing what's been
Reflecting.
going on. Cailyn brought up every single time Cailyn sees some sort of comment that is like funny or like people
Yeah.
people have been really like going off in the comment section.
Yeah.
She'll like send me a screenshot. She'll be like, oh my God, look at this comment. Look at the convo that's starting. And we basically decided, I mean, if you see the title of today's episode, we decided to like go on about this question of like what makes a good friend, because our
Right.
whole video was like, I guess that's like what stood out for people.
I
'cause
know.
that's,
Interestingly enough, because
that's
I
what's
thought
coming through.
like the video's a very short video.
Yeah.
Like there's not much of our personality that you can tell or see. No words were spoken.
At all.
No words. Which to me, that's why I'm thinking like, oh, there's not much personality to like dissect in this interaction. But it sparked so much conversation in the comments of being like, oh, I've been that friend one time, or oh, I had a friend like that once. And
It was like relatable for a lot of people, and they started
relatable.
talking about their own personal lives. And I'm very shocked at how open people were to like
Right.
use our comment section as sort of this like, they
Just,
just
like,
like bared their soul
community,
out.
right, like
they were
forum.
talking, and
It's
the
fully, like-
friendships were formed in our comment section.
Yeah.
And like I just loved that so much, and we wanted to talk about like what makes a real friend, because there were so many comments going back and forth about this idea. Because on one end, people were saying that like I was being a bad friend. On the other end, it was saying that like Cailyn was being a bad
like,
friend.
it really
or not really
brought
like
out
us, but like the
like,
characters in the situation.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
like
Because they
this-
don't really know
this
us.
event, this scenario that
This
happened,
scenario,
that was filmed.
exactly.
We wanted to reflect on some comments, basically, that we thought kind of like sparked different sides of this conversation.
Yeah.
And in different facets too, because I don't think it only pertained to just like who's a good friend and who's a bad friend, but also like jealousy and that type of connection that you have with someone where
Yeah.
people take it the wrong way, or someone can make an assumption about you just based off of like a 5-second TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's one little tiny clip that you saw that happened, and we're like, oh my God, the fact that people can form some sort of story to their own, I guess, to their liking.
Yeah.
They could really make whatever they want of that and be like, oh my God, this person's terrible, this friend's
And they
terrible.
kind of
for
just
you,
run with it.
and run with it.
Yeah. So let's break it down.
There was a common theme that we found in this comment section of people not being able to understand the premise of this video. Like, I don't know, like the wording of it, people were just struggling. Like, people had to answer each other, being like, so basically the girl in the purple is getting ready with her friends, the girl that got the text is the one in the black top, and she doesn't like, the girl in purple doesn't like the man who texted her friend.
That's
no,
very true.
that's basically what was happening.
Uh-huh.
Which, yes, that is the premise of the video. I didn't think that the wording was like hard to understand.
Guys, trust me, if anyone is like so careful about what they write and they're like, I am the type of person that it's like, when you, that's literally me trying to read something, because
Two communication students.
I cannot read things for the life of me. So when they were saying, oh my God, I can't understand this, I was like, what did I do? What did I write? Right. But I think it was pretty understandable.
I was the friend in the situation.
Yes, she was the friend in this scenario.
Yeah.
I also think it's so funny that so many people couldn't differentiate who was who. Like they were like, who is who? Like who's
or like
who?
it could work both ways.
It could work both ways. Also, a lot of people come to Full-Time Daughter and they think like it's just one person's channel, and it's us.
There's two of us.
It's two of us.
It will always be the two of us.
It'll always be the two of us. Just letting you guys know, because it's not like our personal or our mains or anything like that. I just wanted to clear the air.
I would say the first comment, or one of the first few comments that we got on the YouTube short was, "You're a bad friend."
Oh yes, we got a lot of these comments actually, like throughout social media, like you're a bad friend.
You're a bad friend.
Did they specify?
They didn't specify.
No.
So it's hard to tell where they're seeing whose position they're seeing as being a bad friend.
Yeah.
But that caused a lot of discourse.
A thread.
A thread, if you will. A lot of it started as like a back and forth between someone commenting, "Yeah, you're a fake friend." ...
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Oh."
Oh my God, no.
We both were like, "Oh." And someone responded underneath and was like, "No, not always. There can be different reasons to why you don't want your friend to get with a boy she likes. Maybe she thinks he doesn't deserve her. Don't push into conclusions so fast."
Oh, period.
Which, that's kind of the headspace that I was in. I'm like, that's so interesting that someone can immediately jump to conclusions and just be like, "Oh, you're a bad friend," just based off of this clip. And someone else is being like, "No, you don't really know the story, the context. Why is she texting someone who she knows her friend doesn't like? That's weird. Be a good friend."
Okay. If you watched the whole vlog, Get Ready With Me on TikTok, if you watch our other videos, you'd see Cailyn's reaction to the text, full reaction.
Yeah.
But we also did an explanation video after. Cailyn doesn't like a lot of the guys that I've ever interacted with.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I choose horrible guys to just talk to. So that's my fault. But she doesn't really like any of the guys. Valid. I understand. That's so valid.
You also have to see it from the perspective of like, I only know the parts that like she tells me. And yes, we tell each other everything, but I'm not the one speaking to this man.
Of course.
Like, I don't speak to this man daily. I don't know much about him. The only thing I know is that when there's something that happens that he does that's like annoying or icks her out,
so
like
much.
I'm the first one to know. And then I'm like, another takeoff, like another point added to the list of reasons why I don't think he's good enough.
I wouldn't date someone that my friends didn't like. I feel like that's so awkward. Like, ew, if all your friends hate a guy and you're just like dating him, you know what I mean? Like, and you're like ignoring all the red flags, like what? I just feel like your best friends know you so well. Mm-hmm. And if they're like, why are you dating this guy? Like, he's so bad for you.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy. He's rude. Why aren't you going to listen to them?
I've been in a position where I've been in a relationship with someone who I didn't even fully think was like the right person for me.
Yeah.
There was like no ill will. And after the fact that it happened, I got the points of views from like the people that I loved, and people were like, yeah, it wasn't the best situation. Like, we just think you deserved better.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until after, but I could see also how at the time I was like kind of ignoring the situation and just like seeing it for what I thought I wanted from it. And it wasn't really like the full picture. Like, I wasn't seeing the full picture. But I think if I would have also like heard your point of view at that time, or my mom's, and been like, hey, like, you guys would have been like, hey, like, that isn't our favorite person that we think you should be with, because, like, we just don't think he's like the right fit for you. I think I would have understood. Like, I would have taken it more into consideration.
It's also so much more difficult, I feel like, when you're an adult, because there's only so much you can do, like, I can't tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
And I also can't tell you who you get feelings for and who you fall in love with or anything like that. And also, if you want to have some sort of relationship with someone, whatever it may entail, I'm not going to be the one to say like, no, you can't.
Right.
You live your life. You do what you want to do.
No, and like, we're not mothering each other.
Exactly.
I don't think that's what a friendship consists of. It's not grounded on like telling the other person what you want from them or like what you wish for them. You could wish so much good for them, but you can't. Again, like that saying that's like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
I do appreciate everyone that's like, oh my God, listen to your friend. I totally agree with that. You should take into account. And I feel like moving forward, I want to ask my friends for their opinion, but also not really, because I think it's important to like be
make
able
your own
to
judgments.
make my own judgment, but also I'm like, what did you guys think about him? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's really important, because sometimes you get sort of blinded by your crush, or, you know, he's saying the perfect things, but then maybe they're like, hey, I see this through another perspective. We remember everything about perspective if you listen to last week's episode. Yeah. Some people were like, oh, but she's hiding it. Like, you should have your phone on do not disturb. Like, the way that so many people had told me, like, put your phone on do not disturb. Also, shout out to the girlies who said, put your phone on do not disturb, because the guy that I was like crushing on, always his phone is on do not disturb. And I was like, guys, connect the dots. His phone is always on do not disturb because he has girls over. Yes, that's why I gave him up for Lent, guys. Anyway, back to the thing of like texting your friend behind their back. Like, I just wanted to say, I don't condone that. Like, I feel like you should text whoever you want to text, but then when it becomes like a secret, like you're trying to like keep it from your friends because you know they're like, oh, I know you hate him, or I know whatever. I just think that's weird. Messy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like
when
if you have a problem with your friend commenting on your love life, I would say, like, just tell them, like, hey, like, I know you just want the best for me, but I want to do my own thing. You know what I mean?
Like setting those boundaries and just exactly being like, I hear you, but again, like, it's not toxic, it's not you know, like, just because someone doesn't like that person, like, you have to make your own judgments. And you have to go through the experience.
There were so many comments about like, oh my god, I would drop her if she did that to me. I would stop being her friend. And I just wanted to say, like, I feel like that's like not a thing to like drop your friend over for, in my opinion.
In our situation.
Between us, okay? Everyone has their own situation, and like, I just feel like that is unique to your life. But between me and Cailyn, our friendship, I just feel like I would never drop you. I would be there for you if anything else. Like, I would be there because I'm like, I know, like, for whatever reason, she's like really liking this guy, or she's like going through it. And like, I know she's going to need me, or vice versa. Like, I'm going to need her even to rant, or just to like, I need her support.
Yeah, no, I would never think that would be the first option, to be like, well, you need to drop her.
Yeah, no.
And I just think because we have such an open relationship where it's like, we talk about everything, we tell each other all of our honest opinions, like our honest truths and everything, and like, we fully present ourselves in the most, like, we feel comfortable enough to share anything. So like, secrets 100%. With us, they don't exist. Like, what secrets, like, what are we hiding? Like,
what secrets, what boundaries?
No matter what, like, I would have seen whatever it was, whether the phone was on do not disturb or not. Like, you would have come to me after and been like, oh my god, guess who texted? Like, and I get the having like the secrecy of like, yeah, you don't need to tell your friend every conversation you have with this man, but like, you know, the girlies like tell each other like, how should I respond?
Choose to share everything. You know? I choose to share everything with my friends, well, for the most part, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it comes to stuff like that, it's not like a secret, you know? It's not like I was hiding it. Like, the guy that she doesn't like texted me. It was like,
oh my god, yeah, that's another thing.
She doesn't like him, but he texted me. Like, and it was just, it popped up. Like, I don't have my phone on do not disturb. Like, I don't have a crazy roster that's like hitting me up and like, do you want to go meet? Like, you trying to link? Like, that's not me. Like
no, that's we're not secretly linking up with anyone. Like, that's not.
And even if I was, you think I'm not gonna tell my friends? Like,
guys, that's what we're trying to get at.
The group chat is gonna know. The group chat is gonna know.
That's what we're trying to get at. Is like, guys. We know. Oh my god, like that. Like, we know.
There are no secrets, especially when it comes to guys and dating. You know what I mean? Like, I need my girl. Like, you
need that other opinion, right? And you need that other like.
And
right,
just
what
like,
are we thinking?
It's so fun to have someone like in your corner when you're, you know, talking to someone or meeting someone, or I don't know. Like,
it's also,
why wouldn't I want
great conversation starters?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, now every time we meet, it's like, oh, I have updates for you on this guy, or oh my god, I have, like, he said something, ew, like, you know, and then like I'm gonna be there to be like, girl, not this man again.
Really like funny part about this, and I feel like you can totally add to this because you were watching Sex and the City. A lot of people have been like, but you just talk about boys, right? And I just wanted to say, like, not at all. Like, even between our friendship, not at all. It comes up whenever it comes up, but for the most part, we're literally just talking about life. It's so new to us. And I feel like I'm
know.
always saying this, but like, guys, it's like new to us. Dating, it's new to us.
It's so
So
new.
it's like we are going through this life together. We have such similar paths. So it's bound to come
Yeah,
up,
and
you
of
know?
course we're gonna share like any new feeling that we're feeling.
Right.
We're like, oh my god, wait, I think I kind of like him, or oh my god, I really don't. Like, this man is annoying the hell out of me. And like, it's interesting to have the conversations that we have, because we also have, although we're living very similar parallel lives, we have different situations and like things to bring to each other's.
We branch out.
Right. Like we branch out, and like we have experiences that the other maybe hasn't gone through.
Yeah.
Or like you've heard something from someone else that I'm like, wait, such a good point, you know? So we just share.
I know exactly what you're bringing up.
The lore goes crazy.
Yeah, but it's because I heard this like quote from Miranda from Sex and the City, and she was like, can we just not talk about boys
I know.
and just like talk about ourselves? And that really hit me, and I was like, no, I know, but also, to be fair, I've never gotten to talk about boys with anyone before.
Right.
So it's like, this is like a new and exciting thing, and why should I feel like embarrassed about talking about it? You know what I mean?
There's no embarrassment in
No, I
talking
know.
with anything that we talk about, and especially guys, because I think, yeah, we went through experiences like growing up where those are very pivotal, like formative years that you start like coming into yourself, you start finding out what you like, what you dislike, and we didn't really go through that phase
At all.
So it's bound to happen that at some point when we're growing up, or like you're just starting to get into the dating world, and even now, like I would say it's still really awkward at the ages that we're at now, which is 23 and 22. Like that, when I see other people dating at this age, I'm like, that's so normal. Like, there she goes on her date, so proud of her for branching out. For us, like we go, or like we really try to put ourselves out there, and we're like,
Yeah.
all right, we'll try the apps, like we'll try going on a date, we'll try meeting up with someone. And that's like, I still think I'm like a kid. Like mentally, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get there, and the person's gonna think I'm like too young, or like I'm not supposed to be doing this. Like it feels almost wrong for me to be dating or like trying to like put myself out there and talk to people. So it's bound that we're gonna like talk about these like stories that we go through.
Guys, I literally almost crashed out about this. I'm not even kidding you. I was gonna bring it up because I got a complaint that all I do is talk about boys, and I was like, I'm never talking about guys ever again. I'm never bringing up, you're not gonna know anything. I'm gonna go on dates. I'm gonna become the next bachelorette, and you guys aren't gonna find out about it. You're gonna see me on TV, and that's it.
No. And I just have a point to make about that, because when she told me this, she was like, oh my God, like someone said that I only talk about boys on the podcast. Like I'm never talking about a man that I speak to ever again.
I was so angry about this. I'm not even
like,
gonna lie to you.
actually, she was tweaking.
I was tweaking because I feel like we've been so vulnerable, and you guys can think what you want, but I feel like we've been vulnerable. I've talked about insecurities, anxiety, past friendships, family.
Yeah.
And then all you get is that I talk about boys.
That's what was setting it off. That's the conversation that was setting it off, which I see the anger in like that comment, because I just think it's the furthest thing from the truth. Like, yes, we talk about it, whatever. But when she brought this conversation up, I was like, oh, like people only think that that's like the number one most important thing. That's the only thing on our minds is like we come to this podcast and we're gossiping. Like we're sat and it's gossip session. Yeah. Which is like a whole another thing that we need to get into, which is like the differentiation between just talking and like being emotionally available with a friend and like talking it through and just having conversations about very like everyday life situations that we all have gone through, or like it's a part of life.
That, and also the fact that we spend so much time talking about different topics that, and then you choose to only point out on the one about the man. Like, are you kidding me? That's why I was actually angry about it, because I was like, you're like diminishing the way that you were saying it was like diminishing what like full-time daughter is and like what we talk about, and like the way that we're like trying to be open and like build some sort of community. But anyway, you can take it off.
Right. No. that also goes into, yes, the whole gossip session, and people see like when you're talking about boys as being like gossipy, and there's like no substance to the conversation because all you want to do is like all you do is crave a man's attention, and that's like not what we're here for. Like that has never been the sole purpose of Full-Time Daughter. Like it's a side topic and it's part of our life, But I think there's so much more to us than just guys. And like, yes, we talk about it in like reference to the stage of life that we're in now, because it's such an interesting part of life that we're trying to navigate, which we're not good at.
Yeah,
we never claim, like, we're not dating experts.
We're struggling out
we
here,
were the
guys.
first ones to tell you at the beginning of the year, like, yeah, we're gonna go on a date
a date
a month.
It's March. It's March.
Clock us.
0 days.
Yeah, like
0 dates, y'all.
not
like,
a single one of us has gone on a single date. And
No.
you know, that's fine.
That's okay.
Like, we're going through life and there's gonna be different seasons and different people, and like, it's fine. But it brings me to that topic of like being so vulnerable on the podcast and trusting each other, and also like our audience, with the fact that we're able to tell you guys things that we probably maybe months ago would have like never thought of telling anyone.
Exactly.
We tell everyone like what we hate, like what we love, everything, like experiences that have broken our hearts, things that we never want to go through ever again, and we say it so openly, just like in the hopes of someone hearing it and being or feeling seen.
I love this episode because friendship to me is so important, and I feel like I've continued to learn so much about friendship throughout the years. And what I thought was friendship a couple years ago, that whole idea of it has completely changed to what it is now.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that so many of the comments were like tagging each other. They're like, this is you, this is so us, this is that. Like, it felt so like girlhood, like you guys also have friends and you guys also go through this, and it made me feel just like very seen. I definitely have been in a position where I think like I would want my friend to do this. Sorry to like pull up this example, but like you had mentioned it earlier, it's like you were in a situation in the past where it's like, sure, maybe that guy wasn't amazing for you and you deserved better, but I felt like wrong interjecting. Like, I wasn't about to be like, dump his ass or something like that, or you're so much better than him, because it just feels weird to speak poorly about someone who your friend also cares about. You can think that your friend is better than him because that's your friend. You think the best of your friend.
And you
know
have
what I mean?
like your friend's loyalty, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
and
in that position, like, you really have no loyalty to the guy.
Exactly.
And you only see what is being told to you. So it's like, of course you're not gonna like the guy. Of course, like, the guy's gonna be annoying, or he's gonna text and you're like, like this hoe, like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that also brings me to like the next point of like being jealous of your friends in a way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I mean, let's just clear the air one more time.
Yeah.
We got comments that like we were like jealous of each other, like, girl, she wants your man, she doesn't.
No,
Like,
first
of
of all,
all, that's not my man.
Yeah,
First of all, that's not my man. Second, she doesn't want him.
She doesn't even want him.
We don't want him. No one wants him, okay? No one
She
does.
doesn't want him, so why would
she want him?
Like, and our judgment is pretty clear, I'd say. Like, we're on the same kind of...
We were just getting a lot of comments about jealousy, and I just have to say, like, first, I don't think there's a lot of jealousy in our friendship, or at all. Like, I don't think we have a toxic friendship, and if anything, like, when things happen to each other, I think we're more like happy for each other than anything else. Like, yes, I'm so happy for you. Exactly. Like, this is what you wanted, you know, we like support each other. But I do see how in some cases there are friends or people that might resent you a little bit for being in a happy relationship, especially if that wasn't the case for them. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're still feeling the effects of their past relationship or past situationship or whatever it might be, and there also might be like this like buildup of resentment, because, you know, when your friends get into relationships, I feel like a lot of the times you might see them less, or you might hear from them less. Like, that happens, and that'll be like, damn, like, it's not the same anymore. You know, you have someone else that's like really important to you, that you're dedicating so much time and giving your attention to. So I feel like that is a possibility. But I don't know, like, have you ever felt resentment towards a friend because of that?
I have never. I think jealousy is a very valid... I know that there's a negative connotation that jealousy holds, and a lot of people associate jealousy with like this like angry
malice.
Yeah. And I think it's a very normal human reaction. Like, it's bound to happen that at some point you're jealous of something a friend has, you want something that a friend has, or rather than
experience something like that.
Right. It's like almost an envy. Like, you're like, I wish I could be in that position, or I wish I also had that, like, in terms of like a relationship, and maybe that person's super happy and they are talking to this new person. I don't think I've necessarily, I mean, I'm sure I've experienced things where it's like the person has a new partner and they talk to you less, and you're like, oh damn, they've replaced me. Like, you almost feel replaced from this person's life, or not as important. But I hope that's not the case, like the other way around, where I have ever made anyone feel that way. But I also don't think I've ever really experienced
I mean, I can speak
that.
on it. Speak on it.
Yeah, like, I don't think.
I feel like on my POV, wait, can I speak on it?
Yeah, speak on it.
Wait, can I actually?
Speak on it.
Oh my god.
We're talking our shit.
Okay, well,
that's
like,
what these mics are for. It's to talk our
like,
shit.
y'all know, like, Cailyn was in a relationship.
No, I wasn't. I literally wasn't.
Okay, fine. Cailyn was going through something. And
this was like a year ago, by the way.
okay, fine. Yes, you weren't in a relationship. Not anymore.
This was a year ago.
Past tense, guys.
Was past tense.
Anywho, I remember feeling like, okay, first and foremost, I just wanted to say I never felt jealousy or resentment, because I feel like our friendship, I always felt like equal attention. Same, almost like I always felt like we were still here for each other.
Right.
It wasn't like I was being left in the dark, but it was also very different. And I want to speak on this because I met her when she was like low-key already in a relationship.
Yeah, it was like, it was near the same amount of time. Like, the same amount of time that I was just starting or about to be in a relationship, I was also meeting Isa for the first time.
Exactly.
So it was very,
it's like, weird. That's how I knew you. And then it was,
which
like,
is so crazy to me. Every time I think of that, I'm like, oh my god, I cannot believe that you didn't know, like, the version of me that I've been my entire life. Yeah. Which has been like alone, has never dated anyone in my life. Like, I was always that girl. Like, didn't talk to anyone, never went on dates. I was always her. So to think that, like, you met me at a time where it was like this version of me that was not me. That's why I refer to this as like, this was a loss of like myself for like a short period of time, and then I came back to myself, and I was like, okay, that was, I think, she met me during that time.
No, but the funny part about it is that, like, my first impression of you is like, you were the coolest girl ever. Like, you guys don't understand. No.
That's how I thought about you.
I genuinely wanted to be her friend so badly. Like, we would like walk back from the bus to her car and my car, and I was just like, oh my gosh, she's like the coolest girl ever. And I remember like at one point we were in the car and we're like talking about dating, and she was like, oh yeah, like I met him through like a dating app. And I was like, this girl is on dating apps? She's so cool. Like,
no, and to me,
mind you, this was like before I even got on dating apps. Like, this was,
and this was like then. To me, like the opposite. Like, I had the opposite situation where it's like, I thought she was the coolest person and I wanted to be her friend so bad. And then we started talking more, we're getting like comfortable, and I'm like, okay, like I'll tell her like random lore in my life, because whatever, character building. It was like, I felt so comfortable with you so fast. But in my head, I'm like, you're telling me that I'm brave, or I'm so cool for like going on dates and meeting some guy.
I literally thought you were the boldest chick out there, girl.
That to me is so funny, because I'm like, if you had known me months before, like months, I'm talking like 2 months before meeting, I would have been the version that I am now, which is just like, oh my god, I'm a little nervous, I'm a little shy, like I don't talk to you unless I'm like comfortable. And I still kind of hold like this like almost, it's not a guilt or anything. It's more of like I just wish you hadn't met like that version of me, because I see it as like, that just wasn't me. Like, that was like such a weird, like, altered, unrecognizable state and like part of my life. But also like the fact that she still loved me during that time. Like, she only knew that version of me.
I literally love you.
Like, she only knew that version of me.
Yeah, and I thought you were the coolest person ever. And I was like, oh, I love this. But the reason I bring this up is because I just wanted to say that, like, when that relationship ended, I felt like I was like reintroduced to my friend again. Like, it's like this really weird thing, because
it really was like a second becoming. Like, it was like
literally like I was
now
like,
we get to figure out,
hello, like, who is
friendship.
this? it was like so new to like meet this like newer version, but it wasn't a newer version. It was just like a version of you that no longer had any ties to somebody else.
Right.
And it was like almost like a weight. Like you were like radiating like,
oh my God, I love that.
I don't even know what it is, but she was like peaceful, glowing, happy, and very much like very focused on herself. And I just feel like, I don't know, I just wanted to bring that up because I just felt like I was reintroduced to you again.
Aww.
And so I never had any sort of like resentment or anything like that. If anything, I understand you because I also was like, damn, like my friend deserves better. Like so much better.
Right.
But I never felt like I stopped being your friend or like you stopped being my friend. I felt like we always just, it was like always important that we put our friendship. If anything, we put each other first. If anything,
I was gonna say, if anything, we had the other side of the token where it was like
the other side.
The person was mad at us, like as one being, like we became one.
I quote, toxic dependent relationship.
The toxic dependent relationship we have with each other.
With each other.
The co-hosts of this podcast. That's what we were going through, and it made the other person, I don't know if it made them insecure. They thought at the time,
jealous, resentful.
Right. I think
annoyed.
It was from the other side. And
yeah,
if anything, I was the one that was feeling like I would drop Issa in every conversation. I was starting to feel like Paul Mescal bringing up Daisy Edgar Jones in like every interview or like every part of his life. He's just like, oh, Daisy Edgar. That's me with Issa. Like I'm just like, oh, by the way, like my bestie Issa. Like I just bring her up like unintentionally. Like I am Paul Mescal as who he is to Daisy Edgar Jones. Like that's just who I am. So I'm like, sorry if I'm like weird, obsessive, and crazy about my best friend. Like, but she lives this life with me, and like we experience so many things together that I'm gonna bring you up. Yeah. And sorry, like whoever I end up being in a relationship with is gonna have to understand. Like they're like, oh, I get it. Like that is your best friend. Yes. Which is why I think it's so healthy too. Is like I think
it's cool that
are there for each other.
We're so there for each other. I don't think it's like some weird like codependency thing. No. Nah, y'all. It's literally
or how about like maybe okay, no, I was gonna call.
Super quick break to talk about this amazing opportunity that happened to us. We just wanted to bring up how VoyageMIA reached out to us and wrote an article about full-time daughter. Make sure to click the link below to read the full article, learn a little bit more about us and full-time daughter. I hope you enjoy.
And now back to the episode. If you do feel like those feelings of like jealousy towards someone else who's experiencing something happy, it's because you're projecting your like innermost desire, you know. I think we all want connection.
That's so true.
I think we all want connection and we all want to feel loved. So whether this is like in a romantic sense or you're seeing someone want like in something that you want so badly, or like you might push it away. You might say like, no, I don't want that right now, or I'm so focused on me. But subconsciously, or like, I've always wanted to feel seen and loved and supported by someone.
Wait, that's so crazy that you're bringing that up.
So you're projecting.
We literally were talking about how like, I feel like it's funny that you bring this up because we literally like wrote a point down about like being jealous of your friends, but because of the goodness in their life. Right. Like, oh my God, I'm jealous. Like she has such a good job, or like, I'm jealous she's getting married. I'm jealous that like, oh, my friend's so in love, you know, all like, and it's this like, it's like this like
you want to be part of it.
Exactly, that you're like, oh, you want to be a part of it. You want that. And I don't necessarily think it's like a bad thing. I don't think
that's a bad, like the negative connotation that jealousy has, where it's like, oh, you're trying to like steal their spotlight away from them, or you want to be.
Maybe it's not like jealousy. Maybe it's that like a desire of what, you know, they have, and it's like a goal that you want to reach eventually.
It's literally wanting to belong. Yeah. Which is, I think, like such a human innate trait, or like something that everyone wants to feel. Is like everybody wants a friendship. Yeah. How many times have we seen a movie or like a beautiful friendship forming in a TV show, and you're like, oh, I've always wanted that.
Yeah, it's like found family is my trope.
Right.
Yeah.
Like found family. Yeah. Like
that is my trope.
Yes. Yeah. Like there's so many times that you see friendships and stuff and you're like, I wish I had that.
Because we just crave connection.
We really crave connection. And I think that's like the underlying thing that everyone aims for. So when you see someone like ahead of you, or like they're achieving things sooner, I think that's just like what we want in life, is that connection and that belonging. So it tends to like cloud your judgment on some things, or even just like cloud your emotions. I think like differentiating what you're really feeling.
That's so true. And I feel like when you when you figure out like what you're actually feeling, like if you're questioning it, like, okay, if I'm mad about this situation, or if I'm jealous right now, or if I'm feeling resentful, like why am I feeling this way? Is it because I'm mad that like her attention is going to someone else and I just miss her? Like, is it coming from a place of like loss and like, I just miss your attention, I miss hanging out with you, you know what I mean? Is it like you're actually mad because that's something that you crave for yourself or you miss from that other individual? Like, I don't know, I feel like it's something that you should question about yourself rather than like jumping to like, I just hate this whole situation. It's like what Cailyn was saying, like there's some projection going on, there's something internal going on right now that we have to like answer for, you know what I mean?
It's the same goes for like physical stuff. And when people point out something that maybe you've been insecure about for like the longest time, and someone points something out, and you always hear that saying of like, if someone's making fun of you, it's because they're jealous, or there's some inner turmoil going on that they need to sort through and figure their own shit out, which I always think to be true. Like I always refer to that saying of like, it could just be jealousy and projection. Yeah. Because you really never know. I mean, you never know what's going on in someone's life or what they're thinking. But for the most part, it's because it's something internal that like plays on their mind, and they feel the need to like say it out loud and project that onto someone else, because then it's like not a part of them anymore. They're just like, oh, if I'm not allowed to feel this, I'm gonna like splurt this shit out to someone else because they're also not able to feel this emotion. Like if I'm not able to, you're not able to either. And then we're both stuck in this like negative, which I think is just such bad energy to lead anything with. Like you should.
I also think you should remember that when someone is treating you badly, just remember that they're treating themselves so much worse. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Right. Like if they're making someone feel bad, they're feeling even worse. You know what I mean? So I just, whenever I'm like, oh, someone's being mean to you or someone doesn't want the best for you or anything, that I'm like, oh, they're just bitter. They're just going through it themselves. And they have to put me in this position to make themselves feel better. Yeah. Because they're going through it. Disregard, ignore, I don't have any energy for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you think that friends should be like 100% involved in your life? Because I grew up with shows like Friends, and I love New Girl, and I love like Sex and the City, and it's like I've like always grown up where it's like your friends literally like live life with you, and they know everything about you, and they know all the characters in your life, and they know your coworkers, and they know the guys you're dating, and they know everything, because that's just how I grew up, like in watching these shows and these movies where it's like friends are like basically your family, you know? Yeah. So it's like, do you agree that like, do you see that for yourself where it's like, I love that my friends are that involved in my life? Or are you like, no, I'm like a lone wolf kind of person where I have my people, but I have like my own
This is actually thing. So interesting because I don't even think like, you know, there are times where I'm like, I'm the only person I have like ultimately that knows myself, of course, like to my core, and you're like, that's true. That's true. Yeah. That is true. But I also like growing up my entire life always craved that like friendship that would just like carry on through life. Yeah. Because of again the shows and the TV shows and being like, oh my god, I really want that. I want to experience. Like once I'm older and I have kids, I want this person to see this person as their aunt and like be involved. Like everyone goes to these events together. Like our whole entire family is like linked with this other family. Yeah. We're like neighbors now. Our families are next to each other. Our kids are like playing in the big field in the back. Like, you know, like I've always wanted that. But again, like I would watch these shows and think like, I really hope like someone stays long enough to like experience that. And growing up, like, you know, you have like those friends that are like childhood friends, and then that's like that era of life, and then it just compartmentalizes into I knew them for that season. Of course. And you never really, you fall
and
they're so
touch. Important for like that part of your life. You couldn't have done life without them, you know? Right. Yeah.
And there's also times where I'm like, I really did think back then that those friends would be the same exact friends that I have when I'm older, because it was like we did everything together. And now we just like don't talk anymore. Yeah. And then sometimes you start to question like what even was that friendship just like a part of life? Like there's no resentment towards anything. Like you just kind of understand that people fall in and out of each other's lives, and that's what happens.
So true.
But I did also think like for so long that those would be the friends that I would still have, and that's like not the case. But at the same time, I think you get older and you learn, and like you meet people who are so in the exact like phase of life, and you're not always going to be in the same phase of life. Like I know us, we are in the same phase of life, and college was like where we met. Everything that we've done since then has been very parallel. Eventually that might change. Like one of us might find a relationship and the other person is still single for a little bit, and then we might break up, and then you might be the one in a relationship, or that's going to ebb and flow. But I don't know, there's like something so subconscious to me that I'm like, I think I have found a forever friend, where it's like
Girl.
I already know,
Girl.
not the crying every episode.
I can't look at you.
See, this
right
is true friendship.
Get through your
True friendship is when we cry.
Get through
every
it.
week on mics.
I'm not gonna look at you.
Okay, well, I was just
can't
gonna
with
say that I was just gonna say that like once you build like that connection, and then it keeps like you just trust each other every week, and like you every day, like we're in each other's life every day. We just build that connection enough to know that we're gonna be in each other's lives forever, you know? That's all I have to say.
Composing myself.
Every week.
That is very sweet. I love you. I feel
love
the
you.
same way.
Yes, that's exactly
You know
how
I
we
feel the
view-
same way.
again,
hold
here
on,
we
I
are
need water.
confessing our love. Like, here we are.
Oh my god.
Here we are. But it really does feel like that, right?
I
Like,
know.
do you see it as like, I think it just happens when it happens. You know what I mean?
agree.
Like, you meet someone, and maybe it's not until you meet someone that you're like, oh, I see us becoming like being best friends
Yeah.
for like ever. And then other times you're just like, okay, like this is a friendship for a season.
I will say, I totally understand what you mean, like that there's friends for different parts of your life and you couldn't have done life without them. I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I have people like that. But I have said it so many times on this podcast. When I met Cailyn, I swear to you, it was like those like slow motion movie
No, it
moments
really was.
where it's like the sun
It really
was hitting
was.
her and I was like, what is happening right now? And our friendship just flowed so easily and simply. And I found that I was able to communicate with her so easily. Like it was just
Yeah.
like, and also I was being very mindful to communicate better because so many of my former friendships had ended because there was no communication.
Yeah.
So, you know,
But
I
you
just
learn.
made it.
You know what I
exactly,
mean? Like that,
learn.
you were taking that experience into
Yeah.
this new one.
Yeah, but I found that it was just so easy to talk to Cailyn. And I was always like, okay, like don't judge me. Like you might think this is so
Always.
weird. I was like, okay, you might judge me for this. Like you might
Like,
judge me because
judge
like that's
who?
what exactly like what judge what. And so since the very start, it's always been such an honest and open friendship, and it's just felt like very real. And
Right.
you know the thing when it's like, but how do you know? And it's like you just know. Like
You just know.
trust me, you're gonna feel. It's just like a I can tell her something right now and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like
It's
she
not gonna
literally,
surprise
it's not
me.
like a judgment or anything like that. It's
Right.
not gonna like surprise her. Like I can say the most out of
Diabolical
pocket, diabolical, crazy thing. And I have. Like we're on the
Yes.
road driving and I'm like, Cailyn, have you ever redacted bleep? Like it would literally be redacted from
crazy.
this. Like it's like a movie moment. And she's like, yeah, I've thought about it. Like it's like the
Yes.
simplest conversation where it's just like
It's
I
just
don't
so
know.
normal. Like
it's so normal to us
It's
and it feels so real that we
so
can just
real.
talk about whatever. And also it's just like we can like sit here and not speak and it's like fine. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's how you know.
That's how you know. Like I wouldn't
really
care.
do think these are signs of like a good friendship because
just,
I don't
like,
think a
sit.
friendship is ever supposed to feel like again, like there are moments where things happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe friends argue sometimes. We haven't gotten to that point of like ever arguing.
I
Like,
don't think I could like actually fight Cailyn like
I-
in a way. Like
No,
I don't want to.
I don't want to, like, why would we ever argue?
That's so
about
weird.
what? I have no idea what
Yeah,
that would
about
even
what?
entail.
I don't know.
But like that's such a good sign of like never feeling like you need to withhold anything
Yeah.
from someone or feeling judged with that person.
Yeah,
That's like the number one thing. And I think
for sure.
especially when you're meeting for the first time, there's just like this feeling of I can trust you. And it's like this
It was weird.
it's like this energy.
It's this,
not
like,
even
weird energy that
like
you're just
we
like-
knew nothing of each other.
No, but I was like,
Absolutely
I feel like
nothing.
I could tell this girl my entire life
Right.
story, and she
No,
would
and we
be
were.
like, no, and we were.
No, we were. It was like the first week and we were like, Okay, yeah. And then when we start our podcast, it was like the second conversation we had.
No, like I think like in our second conversation we're like, so when we move in together.
So then when we move in and have a
what?
Like, you don't know this person, but like now even some like,
you don't know this woman.
Oh yeah. And like there's so many times where people are like, oh, I thought you guys knew each other for so much longer.
No.
And we're like, oh, we've like known each other for like a little over a year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's felt like years to me.
Exactly. I feel like I've known you for
like
years.
I feel like I've
life.
known you for years.
No, like years. Like it has like
that's
4+.
why I'm like, that's literally signs of a good friendship.
No, I know.
There were so many comments too under this video of like people in their own situations and talking about like, oh, I had a friend like this once and I had to drop her because of this, that, and the other. And it's like very crazy lore. Like there was a lot of crazy lore happening in the comments, and I would just think like, wow, like this is like stuff that people go through. And like I'm not to say that like we haven't gone through some horrible shit or like some disappointing situation with a friend or like just falling out with a friend, but it really like puts things into perspective of like how lucky we are to have felt this like connection so quickly and it still be this thing that like really grounds our friendship.
Yeah. I also feel like our friendship, I feel like what's been like something, I guess what's made it very like successful and like very like loving and just like very good, other than we want the best for each other and we
Always.
Also have like very similar beliefs and like passions. That's such a good thing. It's like, you know, so many people that get into relationships, part of it is like our passions align. What we want for our future aligns. That's the same with like our friendship. Like what we want out of life aligns. What we believe in, it's the same, you know, like our lives are very parallel, as Cailyn has been saying. But I think also it's just like we really do put our friendship, like there's so much attention to it and so much care. We check in with each other and we also just always want to support each other. And I feel like that's what it is. It's just like the soil, very nutritious, very well taken care of, very loving and nurtured. And I think that's what it has to be, is like we built a foundation of like trust, open communication, love. And I feel like that's why it's so good, is because there's that foundation. So I feel like if you're struggling or something like that, it's like, look at your foundation, look at your soil. You gotta feed it, you know what I mean? But I found it so funny that you brought up that like we don't fight. And I think that it's really funny that we don't, but we also, I will say, I will admit, there have been moments where I'm not feeling great, she's not feeling great. We might have a bit of a mad moment of like, I look so bad, I'm so over it. Like we're fed up.
Always.
We call these the fed up moments. We're going to call them, okay? And I've seen her in those moments. She's seen me in those moments. I've cried on the phone sobbing. I've screamed out of anger. She has heard all of this.
Yeah, I know.
And still it's like, oh, she's here. You know what I mean? Like we've seen each other at our fed up moments, at our sad moments, happy moments, whatever, and we're still there. I just feel like even in those moments, like we're not even fighting. Like those times, it's like we're just like, okay, girl, like what are we gonna do?
Yeah, it's really built on like mutual understanding.
We're like, girl, what are we gonna do? We feel this way, whatever. It's like I've even then in those moments of like, there's no fighting, like, because it's just that there's no point. I just feel like we're not like these like people that like argue or anything like that.
It's like just not in our nature at all.
It's not in our nature to just argue with each other. We're like, oh, whatever,
like
you know.
Two earth signs. You're talking to two earth signs.
I know, but it's also just like, what are we gonna do? What's gonna come out of this? You know what I mean? And I just find it funny. Like, I don't have really advice if you're like fighting with your friends, because I did have former friendships where there would like fights would break out. I just end up in tears, or I'd be like, I'm gonna self-isolate now, shell up. And I would say nothing successful comes out of that. Like literally nothing comes out of fighting and anything like that. So I've just tried to like, with all my friendships, like open communication, just talking calmly. Like that's all I can advise, because that's what works. You know, if there's ever like a disagreement, I've had disagreements with my friends, and it's just like open communication. It's like, it's not necessarily saying like, it's like, hey, I didn't like that you did that, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry.
Like just being
I'm
honest
sorry I
with
did
them.
that to you. And boom, forgiveness. You know what I mean? That's all. And I don't know. I just feel like with all my friendships nowadays, it's been all those like feelings of like, you're the one kind of vibe, where it's like, you are right for me. This feels so right, because it isn't like, I don't know, it's not like oh yeah, you can hang out with us, you know what I mean, and then we become friends from that. Like it's just like, oh, she's hanging out. It's like all the friendships I have right now are like very much like, I love you and you love me, and we're just getting to know each other, and it's this really cutie thing of like,
Right.
we're going through life together,
No, I
and
love
it's so
that.
fun. And I think that's why, like, the friends I search for now, it's like, I want to be there for you because you're there for me, and then I'm like trying to figure out like what you do for my life. Like, I know that sounds kind of, maybe it sounds selfish, like, oh, what do you bring into my life? But I feel like with friendships now in this phase of my life, it's very much like, are we a good match for each other? Like, are
No, I
you
think that's really
bringing like
important.
joy, and like, is this benefiting the both of us? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there like good energy? So that's what I'm bringing into our friendships and stuff like that, and like what I want from others.
I would also add, this
What?
is in reference to the jealousy. And
Okay, tell me.
in case anyone feels, because I know it's such a human feeling, and I know we're normalizing jealousy, normalize feeling that emotion. But I would say if there's a way to change or reframe jealousy into using it as like inspiration instead, because maybe if you really are looking at someone and you're like, I want what they have, I want to be in that phase of life, I want to be doing the same thing, use that instead of just like harping on and on about, I wish I could do that, use it as inspiration, because it really does help if you're just like, oh, you look to this person as, okay, outfit inspo, I love the way she looks, I love how beautiful she puts together her outfits, I'm going to use that as inspiration. Oh, she is able to go on campaigns and be on billboards and this and that and the other, I want to do that too. Like, use it as like a stepping stone.
I remember, guys, I don't actually remember where I read this or heard this, okay? But it's in my brain somewhere.
It's there.
That jealousy, it like makes you like murky almost. Like, it doesn't do anything for the other person.
No, it
only
doesn't.
hurts you.
So even if you think like what you're saying to someone is like really affecting them,
it's not.
It's really not doing
But
anything.
yeah, I love that thing of like, turn it into something good. You know,
Right.
you see someone and you're like, I wish I looked like them. Be grateful for the way that you look and the fact that you have a body and that you are who you are, but also use that as motivation, as like, they're at a place that's like my end goal, and like just
Right.
envision your higher self and work towards that, you know, whatever that means, you know, putting in physical effort or locking in at work, submit those applications, or, you know, you want a big friend group, put yourself out there, join
Also with friend
socials
groups,
and stuff
that's
like
another
that.
thing with friend groups. It's like, now we're all baddies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like not even like, oh my God, all my friends are baddies and I'm just like the ugly duckling.
No,
See it as like literally the people you're surrounding yourself, you are one of them.
Yeah.
Like, you are also a baddie.
Yeah.
All of us were just a giant group of baddies. And it's like, you know, like, you're friends with your friends because we all have this like energy about ourselves.
I also think that like, don't speak poorly about yourself, especially like I just get this way sometimes because my friends are the most loving, sweet people ever.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. You said, you're like,
No, I'm seeing it from the other
That is me.
POV. I'm
But
like, I agree.
sometimes
all my friends are sweet, amazing, wonderful.
sometimes I will feel like not my best self, or I'll feel really down in the dumps for whatever reason. And I'll go to my friends and I'll talk to them about it, and they'll be so supportive. They'll uplift me. They'll be so kind.
Of course.
And the way that they see me is so different than how I see myself in that moment. You know what I mean? And so I feel like in those times, you should really listen to what they're saying, because of course you're going to feel super sad and at your worst when you're you know, at rock bottom. I think that you should listen to your friends when they say like, don't forget who you are, you're a beautiful, smart, incredibly like loving individual. And I think that you should just remember that, because they are the best judge of your character. Don't forget, they choose to be your friend. You know what I mean? They don't have to be your friend.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, she chooses to be my friend because she sees this in me, or she sees like the hope of what I can be and the potential of what I can be, and like is sticking with me through this. So I don't know, just try to see yourself through your friends'
POV.
lenses. You know what I mean? I think that could be a cute way to kind of get out of that like rut of like jealousy, or, you know, that like negativity and all that. Anyway, I just feel like when it comes to friendship, you know, just in the context of this video and all the comments we saw in the discourse, I want to say that don't keep secrets from your friends like that. I think that
that's really when it gets messy.
Yeah. No, like if you're in that other position where you are the friend and you're like telling your friend like, don't do this, you can only control the environment so much. You know, you can only control the situation so much. It's like, let them do what they want to do, and don't do like a, you know what I hate?
Intervention?
No, intervention is fine. Sometimes you need an intervention.
Sometimes that was like
a friend intervention.
necessary.
No, I mean, sometimes I hate someone that's like an I told you so person.
Oh.
I have said this so many times. I hate I told you so people. And I try to, like, whenever I'm like, oh my God, I almost said I told you so, I try not to do it because it's just like in that moment,
nobody wants to hear that.
no one wants to hear that. Like, I
wants to
told
hear.
you not to
I
do that.
told
Like, you
you
were
not to talk
warned
to
and you
him.
chose not. Don't say that. Be like, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm here for you. I support you.
Yeah.
Be there for your friends in whatever capacity. Sometimes they just need to like hang out with you, you know, and get out. Be supportive. Love your friends. Okay. That's pretty much it, guys. I don't think we're going to bring up this little viral video again unless, you know, it happens once more. Fingers crossed. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to keep up with us, please be sure to follow us at Full-Time Daughter Pod on Instagram and TikTok. All our links can be found below in the episode description. Make sure to join us on our Fable because we have book club and we are currently reading The Pisces by Melissa Broder, my favorite author. So
perfect timing.
Sure, it's the perfect time. It's springtime. Let's go fall in love with a merman. Let's go do it. Okay, girls.
Also be sure to follow, rate, and review the podcast because it really helps us. Tag us in your Instagram stories when you're listening because we love to see it. And that's it. We'll see you guys in our next episode because it's your turn.
Because it's a full-time job at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, guys. Bye. Period.
Period.
Done.